The long-awaited border deal looks like it's hit a brick wall. Hours after Senate negotiators released the official bill, opposition continues to mount. NTD's Melina Wisecup joins us now live from Capitol Hill. Good evening, Melina. If you could, tell us what's exactly inside of this bill and some of the pushback that you're seeing from lawmakers.
Hi, Steve. Good to be here with you. So this bill obviously allocates money for the southern border as well as Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. We want to show you the exact breakdown of how this money is allocated. So take notice of the $118 billion. There's $60 billion for Ukraine. That's triple the money spent on the border at just $20 billion. Now, keep in mind, it also addresses policy changes at the southern border, such as raising the standard for illegal immigrants to be able to claim asylum. It also adjusts the president's parole authority, and it gives the DHS new authorization to shut down the border after a total number of 5,000 illegal crossings happen every day consecutively over a week's time. Now, both Senate leaders from both parties acknowledge this bill as a good step forward, saying that it's urgent and the need to act now. We'll take a look at what the Senate leaders had to say.
The gaping hole in our nation's sovereign borders on President Biden's watch is not going to heal itself.
Leader McConnell and I, who disagree on many issues, have never worked so closely together on legislation as we did on this.
Now, this close cooperation with Democrats has caused outrage among many Senate Republicans. Senator Josh Hawley, for example, accusing Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell of caring more about working with Senate Leader Chuck Schumer than he cares about working with Senate Republicans. Now, there's a number of Republican senators who are on the record now saying they'll oppose this bill once it does come up to the floor for a vote later this week. Right now, there's around 20 Republican senators saying that they'll oppose it, as well as a few Democrats. Now, here's a tweet from Eric Schmidt that sums up the messaging that we've heard from the majority of Republican senators. He said, "This bill is worse than advertised." He said, "We need 41 senators to stand firm to prevent this bill from being jammed through." Now, many are taking issue with several of the provisions that address border policy changes, but last night after this text was released, the lead negotiator here, Senator James Lankford, aimed to fend off some of this criticism, telling reporters that he feels this is a strong step moving forward and would force the president to take action now, as well as give future presidents the authority that they need to secure the border. But he also acknowledged that this bill will not address the millions of illegal immigrants that are currently in the country and came here since Biden took office. Here's Lankford.
The default is release everyone into the country. This changes the paradigm 180 degrees. When the border is being overrun, everyone is deported, but it does not address those who are currently here. That was one of the red lines that we all had at the very beginning.
Now, Senate Leader Chuck Schumer is aiming to have the first procedural vote on this border deal on Wednesday, but it's likely to stop there, Steve, because House Republican leadership has already said that they're going to kill this bill. It's dead on arrival there, calling it a non-starter. Steve?
A lot of important information there. You raised a key issue that, this has been being dubbed the sort of the bipartisan Senate border package. However, there is a lot of opposition within the Senate from Senate Republicans. So, Melina, ultimately, where does this leave aid for those other countries included in that bill, such as Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan?
So funding for those other countries, Steve, is really up in the air right now. House Speaker Mike Johnson is planning to move a standalone Israel aid package tomorrow. Remember, a few months ago, he already moved an Israel aid package, but it had pay-fors. That's why the Senate did not take it up. Now it's just a standalone package, and he's increased the money for Israel just a little bit more. But that may be an issue in the Senate. Are they willing to let go of this newly negotiated bill to take up the House's Israel aid bill? And then also for Ukraine aid, that's a sticking point within the Republican Party. Obviously, this is why we're even here at this point. The whole reason why they started these negotiations at the southern border is because of the need to get Republican support for Ukraine aid. So all of this is really up in the air as we speak, and it's yet again unclear how they'll move forward on aid for any of those other countries. Steve?
NTD's Melina Wisecup, great reporting from the Capitol. Thank you, Melina. And as Melina just reported for us, the long-awaited border deal gives $60 billion to Ukraine to secure its borders from invasion, but only $20 billion to the U.S. southern border. House Speaker Mike Johnson says the bill is dead on arrival Some Republicans say it may make the border crisis even worse. Here to analyze the bill and its provisions, we have Kash Patel, senior advisor to former President Trump. Kash Patel, thank you so much for joining.
Hey, Steve, it's great to be back with you on NTD.
Great to have you, Kash. The bipartisan $118 billion agreement on securing the southern border released late last night, Sunday. Nearly half of that package, $60 billion, is dedicated to helping Ukraine defend against its invasion. The bill would require the border to be immediately sealed to illegal crossings at 5,000 daily encounters, but the president could essentially shut it down at 4,000. Once the border is shut, it would stay closed until encounters at the border drop to 2,000 per day. Despite pushback from negotiators, it could also codify up to 5,000 illegal crossings per day. What are some of your takeaways on this border deal, Kash?
A couple of things. One, let's start where you started, the numbers, and put this into perspective. The budget for the United States Marine Corps in 2023, the entire Marine Corps, all three divisions for 2023, was $53 billion. This bill purports to give the Ukraine, in one fell swoop, $60 billion. This prioritizes the interests of the national security defense of America and puts it in second place to those of the Ukraine. And I have always been against that. I've always been for helping our helping our allies when we can afford it, after prioritizing the needs of Americans. And to me, our military comes first. And secondly, and maybe equally as important, is Joe Biden. This bill highlights the fact that we are in a political headline dispute between Congress and the White House and others, rather than actually fixing the border, because Joe Biden could do it overnight. He came into office and rescinded at least 9 of President Trump's border security initiatives as commander-in-chief because he wanted to do the opposite of what Trump did. Look where we are now. And now what he wants to do in an election year is march out there and say, Capitol Hill, I need a bill, otherwise I can't fix anything. That's a lie. He could fix it overnight. He's got the money in the budget already that was budgeted last cycle at DHS, at FBI, and the intelligence community, DOD, et cetera. He just doesn't want to do it, and he wants a cheap shot political victory, and some of the morons in the Senate are looking to hand it to him.
So this could essentially be resolved without all of this negotiation and more money being spent via executive order.
No, you're right. And what it allows them to do is what they've always wanted to do: prioritize the needs of Ukraine and the endless war over there, over the interest of the southern border, shutting off the fentanyl that's killing our children, the narcotics traffickers and human child trafficking that is going on now in our border, along with the terrorists coming in because it's an invasion. That's what they're prioritizing over. They are saying the Ukraine is more important, and the Washington Defense Industrial Complex and the swamp have always said that in how they speak fiscally. It's not a lie that they've given $120 billion to the Ukraine already. How much have they given of that to the border? None. It's not a lie that they want to give more to the Ukraine than they do the Marine Corps. It's not a lie that these numbers show the prioritization interests of Joe Biden, his administration, and the swamp.
Kash, former President Trump did a fascinating interview with Maria Bartiromo on Fox's Sunday Morning Futures yesterday, getting into a lot of topics that he hasn't really been talking about much lately, one of which was China and his future China policy. I want to play a soundbite and get your reaction.
We took in hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes through the taxes and tariffs.
Is that what you want to do again?
Well, you have to do it. I mean, look, their stock market almost crashed when it was announced that I won the Iowa primary in a record.
Kash, why do you think China doesn't want to see former President Trump as the president again?
You know, I think the theme of this interview today is money. And the Chinese and the CCP know that President Trump came in there with crippling tariffs and said, you must cooperate with the world order. You must not harm the interests of the United States of America and our allies overseas. And if you do, there goes the hundreds of millions of dollars of tariffs on every single Chinese import and export. That is a monumental economic strike to the CCP, and they know it's coming again should President Trump return to the Oval Office.
And Kash Patel, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.